Okay. So going off the group discussion agenda, the questions that we were going to discuss are the same questions that we answered for the posting activity.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions about the article to bring up first of all? Seemed like pretty straightforward information. So the first one is, from your personal experience, what have been key behaviors in effective teams? So for me, seems like having a clear goal or set of goals right from the outset tended to be a pretty good motivator.
Yeah.
And usually if that way, if there was an issue with the goal or where the focus might be or should be, it happened right at the beginning instead of like working for a week or two and suddenly there's an issue with what direction we're going.
Yeah. I think I have found, especially leading groups, that I never want anyone to think I'm not willing to do what I'm asking them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of, I think, unifies us a little bit.
For me, one thing that just, I guess, kind of simplifying some thoughts for me was basically you need to know your job for everybody and know your stuff, but also know how to have fun as well. Because I've seen some companionships in some groups where they're just stressed out all the time, even though they're like the hot shots and they know what's going on. And they're asking like, how do you have so much fun with like the guy you're with? And I'm just like, just do it. And it's like, and things go really well. It's because, and you can dive deeper into the reasons why that works, which is what the case kind of goes into. But basically take things seriously when they need to be, but be able to have fun and be a little not serious at the same time.
Hey guys, sorry, I just want to cut in for 1 second. Before Jeremy sent the link, Christian Tejas was emailing me to get the link. Did anybody send? I don't know if it's a her or him, but
it's a him. He was in the call when we first came on.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just didn't see him. So
no, that's okay. I think he's out. Maybe he lost his connection or something.
Because I saw that he posted something on the discussion board that said, "Where's the link?"
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, he joined us. I can send something. Which discussion board? The one that we posted our thoughts on?
No, it says link for the HOA. It's just on this week's lesson 4, questions and conversations.
He was with us right at the beginning.
Okay. All right. Maybe that was from way earlier. I just kind of panicked when I saw it. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
So sorry. Continue. Sorry.
That's all right. I can resend it to him here. Maybe I'll send him an invite. Do we know what Christian's Gmail account is?
I don't think I do. Let me see last week's. I didn't think Christian was in our group last week, but then Lonnie also pointed out that we had more people added to our group after the first couple days, and so I just didn't see it.
I think it's TEL1600. Oh, that's not Gmail. Sorry.
That's I think I can just add any email. What was it again?
It's TEL. Sorry. Now
TEL.
16002 at byui.edu.
Okay, so I've got TEL16002 at byuidaho.edu.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, I just emailed him.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, there he is.
All right, I'm gonna.
Cool. Now we have everyone.
The invite now. There we go.
Thank you.
All right, so we were talking about personal experience, key behaviors, and effective teams. Anybody else have something to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that something I think makes an effective team are people that feel like they could share things with each other, like something we read, like what we read in the case study. I feel like the teams that were open with each other and were willing and weren't afraid to share their opinions were, if they have an idea that can help their team, like they're not afraid to share that.
So I think one of those key factors really respect. Because I mean, if you actually respect somebody, you're always going to be willing to listen to them and not judge them for it. So,
Yeah.
Goes to that psychological safety they were talking about.
I mean, it seems like everything is just kind of adds into that as one formula of psychological safety.
All right. Great. All right. Second question, a little bit of a long one. There's a few in there. What do group norms have to do with effective team building? Then it gets personal. What would you say your current group norms include for your study group? Are they healthy? And if not, what could be changed? So the first one, what do group norms have to do with effective team building? We kind of talked about that one in the first question a little bit.
Well, I think civility is a huge one. Because
Yeah.
I've been in those groups too where hotshot or the one who's going to tell all the answers or whatever, and it's no fun. It's just no fun, and no one really works well together in that case.
And
Yeah,
I
you
think
don't learn anything. Oh, sorry. I was going to say you don't learn anything if someone else does all the work, and so there's no point in being a part of the group if you're not going to participate.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, sometimes when there's the one person leading, it kind of diminishes, or maybe they're assigning roles for certain people and it diminishes your capabilities. So it kind of creates boundaries. And so you don't feel like you need to step outside of those to maybe accentuate your talents that the whatever leader is in charge didn't even know about or took the time to know about you. So, yeah.
Something else that I just thought of. So at the beginning of the article, when it talked about that person's experience with her two groups at Yale, I just thought it was interesting that, like, you know, she can work with all those people and like get different results. But like with the one that she didn't like as much, they had people, they were always trying to fight for who was the leader. And so, like, I think it's important that you don't necessarily assign roles, but that sometimes you do, but that you also rotate them. So then everyone gets a chance. They don't feel like they're being left out or that one person's taking over.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I know in the article it mentioned that norms kind of give a group, an organization, or, you know, gives them a set group of guidelines so that they can figure out how to work together, and instead of just having like a kind of like a fast and testimony, whoever stands up first kind of
Yeah.
not that that's bad, it's appropriate in certain areas, but
Yeah.
that way you don't always have the same people giving their input at the same time. Would anybody else like to add something to that? I guess going into this, the middle part, it says, what would we say our current group norms are? Do we think they're healthy? And is there anything we need to change?
It's kind of, you know, only our second week, so.
Yeah, I wrote down that it was a little early.
Yeah.
That's
That's
what I was saying.
But you know, with this is the biggest group I've ever been with in a BYU study group. So
Yeah.
even with this many, it can, you know, it's never too early to talk about, you know, what we might need to change so that everybody gets a chance to feel included.
I think we have a good group norm. I mean, I think it's easy to tell the people that are comfortable talking. I am not in front of people. But yeah, I think we have a nice group norm. I mean, everybody's respectful and takes their turn.
I think it's nice that the assignment is that we each take a turn being the leader, so that someone who's not as comfortable talking kind of has to, and we get to know more about them.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool.
I think something else that's important. Sorry. I was thinking, it's good, like what we're talking about with everybody like being a leader at different points and like having a say. I also think it's good to like have a lot of people that have like different backgrounds and things. I feel like you have a lot of different people from different points in life, and I think it really helps. Like you get opinions on all the different sides of things, not just if we pick our own groups, everybody kind of just gets into what they're comfortable with, and everybody's like the same person in each group, and then I don't know. I feel like it's better when there's some like diversity in the group to get different mix of opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of them is the diversity in age as well, because in school, like in classes, pretty much everybody's the same age I've found, and online you have the full spectrum everywhere. So diversity and full experience in all things.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this last time, where everybody was from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lonnie, what do you have to add?
I'm just listening. I'm learning from you guys. No, I think I agree with what everybody's saying. It's, we're figuring each other out, but giving everybody an opportunity to speak and give their opinions and whatever it's good. We got a good group.
Yeah. I mean, it's always harder to pick on social cues essentially when you're doing this format, since at least for me, my screen only focuses on the person that's talking. So you can't really be like in a group setting. We can look around and kind of tell what's going on with everybody, but you just work with it.
But technology is great, and it's allowing this group to go in session, so can't complain too much.
Yeah, it is great.
So question number 3 is, how does psychological safety in a team increase overall effectiveness? What are the roles of communication and empathy in creating psychological safety? So
what were those two components?
I talked about in my question, when I answered him, I put that I talked about psychological safety, creating an environment that allowed each individual team member to feel safe for what they call interpersonal risk taking. You get, we've got all kinds of different people. And sometimes, well, in a workplace, or like I work in a school, it takes, sometimes you have to break out of your shell when you're working with people, and in somebody's personal life, maybe we're less willing to do that. And some people, when they get into a work environment, they feel within their group safe enough that they can go ahead and branch out. And if they make a mistake, they're not going to be judged or for it.
Yeah, that's the most successful groups that I've had, like in school, are where we can just make a suggestion or say anything, and we know that the other people are going to be, well, okay, we can try that, or, but you're not afraid. You're not afraid to say what you're thinking, or it's an idea that no one thought of. I've had some really, really great groups, and that's been a common theme.
Yeah, I've been in groups that are both, positive and negative sides of this. But like that first part of the question, how does it increase, your overall effectiveness? I know that in those groups where I didn't feel like I could share stuff, or where I felt uncomfortable, or I felt like, it just wasn't such a good environment, that I wasn't able to learn as much stuff. And I don't remember as many of the things from that class because I didn't feel comfortable sharing what I thought. And so it didn't quite internalize as some of the stuff that I was able to share with other people.
Yeah. I think one thing that, I don't know if you call it like a paradox or what the term would be, but it seems like when you have this really good psychological safety kind of social norm set up, then the group of effectiveness sometimes can seem like it's diminishing, even though in the end it's really expanding further than it would be. I guess a quick example is my second companion on my mission was awesome. My first one I did not get along with, nothing went well. My second one, everything went great. And basically, we got really close really fast, and we worked super hard. But I remember we'd have times where we'd like on our bikes, I'm like, dude, like that looks like a spot we can do tricks on these bikes, and we can mess around, and we'll get carried away and spend like an hour tricking on our bikes. Like we wasted time, but at the same time, the dynamic was so well. We went from an area that had no investigators to picking up 9 in 1 week. So it was just like it got to the point where once you get like it just you kind of find the balance basically of being able to say at this moment we're not effective, but we go overly effective at times, and it totally works out.
So you took your foot off the pedal of going and knocking doors, but you started and shifted towards building that trust or that relationship with your companion.
Yeah.
In the
so
end,
we were just having fun. Yeah, it ended up doing that.
Thanks for sharing.
I
feel
think
like that goes right along with what we were reading in the book this last week.
I think that when we feel psychological safety, we are ready to other people, I think that that helps to develop a great teamwork and ability one with another. Truly, when you don't feel secure with the people in your group, you don't have the ability to tell them, okay, this is happening to me or something like that, please help me. And when you feel safe, you have the ability not only to work in that group, but also to be friends with the people of that group. And I also think that communication and empathy are vital in the process of forming groups or being, effective groups. It also strengthens the confidence between the people in the group.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that one story where the guys talked about how he told his group how he had cancer and things like that. I guess that's an extreme example, but I agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to be vulnerable.
That leads into question 4. It asks, how does sharing personal experience in being vulnerable influence team dynamics? So we kind of built into that.
Mm-hmm.
When I was on my mission, we called it building a relationship of trust, where we were encouraged to include personal experiences within the discussions we were teaching, and try to really form that human bond of trust between ourselves and the people we were teaching, and with the hope that we would be able to, invite the influence of the Spirit to the discussion. And if there was a member of the local ward, even better, so that they could, have that spiritual experience with somebody that they would see on a regular basis on Sundays or even more often. And then that would allow them to, if once adversity came up or trials or whatever, they had difficulties, they could confide in that person, member of the ward, whoever it might have been.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, and it just kind of puts you on a level playing field. You realize other people have problems too. You might be feeling insecure or like you don't fit in, and with everyone sharing their background and their story, it helps everyone feel more comfortable and not so isolated. So
Yeah. I feel like naturally people always have kind of a wall put up, and it makes sense because you don't know who's around you, how they're going to react. You don't want to deal with all this stuff. Yeah. And it can be hard to break that down, but if you can break it down through vulnerability, then suddenly you let everybody in that was right there in that moment. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a way to quickly pull people in, so they could see you're willing to say, here's something about me. Then like, okay, like I'm not just another person that they're just trying to interact with in a normal day. They're trying to take this somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that vulnerability causes the people to feel that they are not perfect. Okay, so when you don't feel that the other person is perfect, you reduce the criticism you have with you and with the other person. Okay, so I think this is something that is very important, and it was the case of Sakaguchi. Sakaguchi went to his team and told them, okay, I have cancer, you know, but I am enjoying my time with you. So they, for a moment, they forget the situation they were living in the group, and they concentrated in one another. So that helped them to have a good friendship and finally to have more good results in the group.
Mhm.
And then that leads into the last question. What can we do as individuals to initiate effective team behavior?
Just model what you want. If you want a respectful environment, make sure that you create that in each of your conversations or interactions with others.
The golden rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like somewhat going back to that last one, like if you are willing to share those personal experiences and be vulnerable to other people, then that helps them to open up to you. So I think just like kind of along also with what Christian said, like if you just follow like what you think you should, like other people should do in the group, then they'll likely follow suit. But just making sure that you're helping others to feel included and acting like you actually want to be there and listen to what they have to say and help them feel like you're a part of the group and they're part of the group really helps to bring you closer together.
And what they're saying is important.
I think that sometimes we have to be, or not, so sometimes no. Every time we have to be authentic. Okay, when we are authentic people, we are ready to show the people, okay, this is what you can expect from me, and I will be here for you, you know. Because sometimes when we are establishing relationships with others, well, we show us as perfect. We know everything, and that is not the reality, you know. So we have to be authentic.
Yeah, I like that.
Going back to Allison's point too, that when you're sharing, you have to let other people have their time to share too. I have a teammate who she overshares, and when it's someone else's turn to share, she doesn't want to hear it, you know. And I'm just like, well, we've listened to you, so now you have to listen to us, you know. So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
One thing that I kind of noticed is they use the word effective team behavior. I mean, a team can be, 100 people, 1,000. It could be 5, or it could be just one other person with you. Mm-hmm. So now that I kind of think about it, is to practice this kind of idea of psychological safety. You could do this with every single person you come in contact with. And when I think about some of the people I know that are, I guess by definition, the most popular people around, they seem to have this connection with every single person around them. It seems like they establish this psychological safety per person, which connects them back to them. And then all the people in the group suddenly have that connection to that one person. And that's why they kind of be the one that, I guess, makes the most friends and influences the most people. And it's simply because they kind of sought for that depth within their conversations and relationships, even if it's just for, a short moment of getting to talk to somebody.
That's great. I love that.
Cool. Does anybody have anything else to add to that last question? If not, we can move into the conclusion part. Just to kind of summarize some of the key concepts of the article. It talked about psychological safety being a group culture where a shared belief held by members of a team allow for safe interpersonal risk-taking. Psychological safety is a sense of confidence that the team will not embarrass, reject, or punish someone for speaking up. And it describes a team climate characterized by interpersonal trust and mutual respect in which people are comfortable being themselves. And then towards the end, I really liked a part of the article that that said that in the best teams, members listen to one another and show sensitivity to feelings and needs, intimating that the sensitivity went beyond just simply getting work done or schoolwork done, but the needs and feelings of people just as people outside of their work and responsibilities.
It's sometimes hard to show empathy. I think when you have group members that never show up and they always have an excuse. I have one really big project that I'm working in econ, and sometimes well, it's the same people that they never turn in their contributions to the paper, or it's just plagiarized, and you have to like take a step back and just realize that they might not know the proper way to do things, or they do have, you know, life and all these other things going on in their life that prevents them from doing what they need to. And so you kind of have to realize that the job or the work is one thing, but the person is another. And if you just continue to show empathy and show like consideration, then eventually they'll want to be part of the team, or so I hope.
Yeah, just try and see the bigger picture.
Point. Does anybody have any final comments they would like to share? If not, thank you very much for being here. Hopefully you got to participate as much as you wanted to.
Who's leading next?